In today's video, I'm going to show you how to beat the painful tax traps that retirees always forget. I'm a certified financial planner, and for over a decade, I've been helping people to navigate the complexities of taxes during retirement. Listen, it's really important you understand how taxes are going to impact you in the future. So today, not only am I going to walk you through the 3 tax traps that you should watch out for, but I'm also going to show you how to potentially undo or avoid them. So tax trap number 1 is required minimum distributions. We're forced to take money out. If we don't do it, we're going to have a 25% penalty. It used to be 50%. They just recently reduced it. We create a double whammy problem for ourselves in that we have to pull the money out whether we like it or not. So these forced distributions are going to apply to any of your qualified money. And that can be your traditional 401k, your traditional IRA, 457, 403b, TSP, simple IRA, SEP IRA, anything that's qualified money. When you reach your required beginning date, then you have to start taking it. So if you were born in 1951 to 1959, that date is age 73. If you were born in 1960 or later, that for you would be 75. So at 75, you would begin the required minimum distributions. So when that day comes, you're going to take money out of your 401k or your IRA or wherever it's at. You're going to sell those holdings, pay taxes on them, spend it for your enjoyment, spend it for your lifestyle needs, or after paying taxes on it, resave it in a different type of investment account. Now, the percentage that you take out depends on which type of beneficiary you are. So if it's your qualified money or something from your spouse you inherited, you're going to use a factor based on the uniform life table. And if it's not yours or your spouse's, it's going to be a single life table. The uniform life table is more favorable. People often ask, well, can you kind of tell me which percentage it is? And I'll tell you that it's based on a factor. But in general, if you're 73 years old and that's your start date, it begins at 3.65%, and then it goes up every single year after that. Of course, you want to pay attention to these RMDs because if you don't take it out, you're going to have a penalty. And when you do take it out, you're creating income in retirement, and that then affects your tax bracket. One of the things that surprises people is they might start retirement in a lower tax bracket, and as they creep along and they hit that age, 73 or 75, boom, the tax bill goes up because they have to pull these monies out and they weren't thinking about that. Let me show you what that looks like. So if we look at this ledger here, we can see that when we retire, the tax bill goes down just $6,000, $8,000. And then all of a sudden it goes up. And the reason that it goes up is because we look to the left here, we can see that was age 75. That was the year that they had to take the required minimum distributions. So how many of your neighbors and friends have this scheduled for them and they don't even know it? Now, you might have the mindset that I've been fortunate, I'm a happy retiree, I'm going to be a happy retiree, I'm fine paying my tax bill. And I get that if that's you, but if you have a good tax strategy, you can pay your tax bill and have more money to spend or give to your heirs. And how you do this is really simple. You just look for clues, and one of those clues is your expected tax horizon. Let me show you what I mean. We're in a low tax bracket here, where many years we're in 10%, but then all of a sudden it pops up to 25% and even 28%. And a lot of times this happens because when one spouse dies, we are a single tax filer, and we also have their required minimum distributions on top of ours. And so we find ourselves in a higher tax bracket in the future. So for people who find this clue and they know they're going to be in a higher tax bracket potentially in the future, there's 3 things that you can do to help undo that. You can advance your income early, you can do Roth conversions, or you can do qualified charitable distributions. Let's talk about advancing income early. It's based on the principle of just smoothing out your income and smoothing out your tax bracket over time. So ultimately, you take money from your investment accounts. You might even still be working, or you're choosing to take it out from those retirement accounts earlier. We have one person who is still working, but he discovered this and he started taking his money out of his IRAs while he was still working, and it allowed him to work part-time. Now, you might not want to work part-time. You might take that money and spend it on something or give it away, or even just put it into a normal non-retirement account because your goal is to just smooth out that tax bill. Now, the second one is Roth conversions, and it's very similar to advancing your income in that you're taking money out of these IRAs and you're paying the taxes taxes on them. And instead of spending it or using it for part-time work to support yourself, you're actually putting it into a Roth IRA. And now you have the benefits of the Roth IRA. And the third one is qualified charitable distributions. Now, if you're 70 and a half, you can give money directly from your IRA, from the custodian, directly to a qualified charity. Churches are a qualified charity, so many people who give to their churches do it this way. But regardless of the charity that you give to, it bypasses getting taxed and it's giving to charity. It also counts as your required minimum distribution. So any of these three can help you beat the RMD tax trap. Tax trap 2 is healthcare cost and Medicare premiums. You see, retirees can get caught off guard by the cost of healthcare. We go from having our healthcare covered by our employer, and then we're working to pay for our own premiums for Medicare Part B and D. And B is for your doctors and D is for your drug, and then all of a sudden we have something else, which is our out-of-pocket costs. So the good side is we understand we have a steady monthly premium that we can understand, but then we have these out-of-pocket costs that can surprise us. Now, the lowest level of cost for B is about $174 a month, and for Part D is $32 a month. So let's just say about $200 per person, so $400 per couple. But here's where people get caught off guard, and that is, in addition to that, we may have some out-of-pocket costs. T. Rowe Price did a study on this, and they estimated that the out-of-pocket costs could run anywhere from $200 a month to $400 a month per person. And then we're going to add to that the complication that Medicare does not cover custodial needs. That's long-term care. And so we may have this other large bill that jumps out at us as well in the future. And when you're paying for your medical bills, you're creating income because you're spending money. And so not only do we have this medical bill that's costing us more money, we've put ourselves in a higher tax bracket. When we did that, we have a lower amount of Social Security is possible because of Medicare means testing. If we go too high, we fall over a cliff, which is a Medicare means testing cliff, and it says, now you're going to pay more for your health care, and they're going to just nicely take that out of your Social Security for you. And this Medicare means testing is called IRMA, Income Related Monthly Adjusted Amount, if I got that right. And like I said, it's a cliff. If you go $1 over in your income, it's going to cause you to have to pay that. Now, one of the best things that you can do for yourself is understand how it works and how it may affect you. See, the thing about IRMA is it's not based on your adjusted gross income. It's based on your modified adjusted gross income. So that means that you add back in certain things. So you add back in tax-exempt interest, foreign income, and if you're self-employed, the deductible part of your self-employment. So if you're a single person and you have an adjusted gross income of $96,000, you think you're okay, but then maybe you have tax-exempt interest for, like, let's say $5,000. Well, that pushes you more than $1 over. So now you're going to pay more for your Medicare premiums. So true story, client called last week, was talking to their dedicated advisor about taking money out to pay off their car early. And Tori responded to this client and said, actually, you know what? If you do that, you're going to push yourself above that IRMA threshold. And for the next couple of years, you're going to have a reduced amount of Social Security coming in, paying more for your Medicare. So based on that knowledge, they decided to do something different about paying the car off. Here is the 2024 IRMA chart in case you're interested. You can always pause the video, take a closer look. You can see that if you're single and you go $1 over $97,000, you pay an extra $68 for Part B and $12.20 for Part D, and that's about $1,000 a year more on top of your normal $2,000 bill for the base level of B and D. And if you're married, you go over $194,000 by $1, you pay that times 2. So $2,000 more per year on top of the normal cost. And it just goes up from there. Remember, as long as you're aware of this, you can work to navigate around it. And the way you do that is, you said, to take money out of your CD or out of your savings, or maybe you finance that car for 1 or 2 years to smooth out the payments. Or if you predict it early enough, maybe you just advance your income early and save for the car and keep yourself in that lower tax bracket. The big thing is don't create more income from yourself by taking more money out of your traditional IRA. Tax trap number 3 is capital gains and investment income. What do I mean by this? Well, most of your income is categorized as ordinary income, and that comes from work. But some of your income is going to be categorized as investment income, and we're going to break that into two categories: capital gains and dividends. And with capital gains, if you own something and you sell it after it's appreciated within a year of owning it, you're going to have short-term capital gains, and that's going to be taxed at ordinary tax rates, which is based on our progressive tax system. However, if you were to wait and sell it after 1 year, you could be taxed at 0, 15%, 20%, or as high as 37%, but there's the possibility that it could be less. Now, with dividends get categorized as qualified or non-qualified. Qualified dividends have more tax favor than non-qualified dividends. So if they're qualified dividends, they're going to count as long-term capital gains types of taxation, so it can be taxed at 0, 15, or 20%. But if they're non-qualified dividends, they're going to be taxed at your ordinary income rate. So now that we've kind of talked about the two different types of investment income, why does it matter? And I'm going to answer that with two things. It matters because the timing and the type, how long you wait before something is sold, and the type of investment. Those are the two things that we can control here to get ourselves in the path of being more tax efficient. So waiting longer than a year is going to give us that beneficial favor, and also working to have the type of investments that put out qualified dividends, okay? Because that's based on the type of investment. So for example, typically speaking, if you own US companies that produce dividends, those are going to produce qualified dividends. Think about companies like Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson. I'm not recommending those for you. I'm just telling you those are the types of investments that produce qualified dividends. Now, when it comes to non-qualified dividends, think about high yield bonds and real estate. Typically, real estate investment trusts and high yield bonds, they put out non-qualified dividends that are going to be taxed at that lesser favorable rate. I'm not saying that owning those things is bad. I'm saying be aware that that's the type of dividends that it produces, so that it helps you to evaluate your own situation. Now, one thing you can do for yourself to figure this out is to look at your 1099-DIV. So that's just your dividend 1099 that comes from your custodian every year, and it's going to tell you how many dividends you had, and it's going to tell you how much of that is considered qualified and how much is considered non-qualified. We recently met with a family who loved their dividend stocks, and once they discovered that they were in their non-qualified brokerage account, they decided to reallocate them into their qualified accounts so that they could become more tax efficient. You see, there are plenty of ways that proactive tax planning can help you to be tax efficient, but the main idea is I want to pay what I owe the IRS, but I don't want to give them a tip. The main idea is you want to pay your taxes when they're lowest. The challenge is it can be hard to know when your taxes will be lowest, because it is complex, because you are creating your own income with Social Security required minimum distributions and any extra money that you decide to take out. You're also weighing maybe what the future of your tax bill is going to be. So here are some examples of different types of tax planning: tax loss harvesting, tax gain harvesting, qualified charitable distributions, required minimum distribution planning, tax optimized allocation, early income advancement, order of withdrawals planning, Roth conversions, or even the strategic use of life insurance in some cases. So planning ahead for your retirement tax situation, it's worth the time and effort, because it can only help you to spend more of your money or give more of your money to your heirs. So now that you know the exact tax traps, you can prepare your retirement to beat them. However, if you truly want to know that you're going to live a long, stress-free retirement, there are many things that I'm not able to cover in this video that you want to be aware of. So if you're interested in having a team of professionals look into your situation and create a plan so that you can have a long-lasting, stress-free retirement, click the link in the description to book a no-cost consultation with my team. See you in the next video.